Good morning, everyone.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
sir.
sir.
Today we are diving into the fascinating topic, the role of national philosophy in shaping a country identity. By the end of this section, we will all understand how France and Japan have used their distinct philosophy to create national unity, instill patriotism, and contribute to their own nation-building effort. So in this topic, I will talking about 4 points of this. So which is politics, education, culture, and nationality. And the last will be the challenge in implementing national philosophy. So national philosophy is critical to create a nation identity because it provides a communal framework of value, belief, and goal that govern the country's social, political trajectory. Nation cultivate a sense of nationalism and patriotism through such philosophy, which are a critical component for achieving unity and a unified national identity. So France, which is guiding principle of the liberty, equality, and fraternity, has a long emphasized the value of freedom, equality, and social solidarity. So this national concept built on Enlightenment idea and the history of French Revolution seek to develop a feeling of common identity that transcends ethnic, region, and regional divide. In contrast, Japan national philosophy has been influenced by its historical foundation in Confucianism, Stoicism, and post-World War II pacifism. So what's the difference of the political system between France and Japan?
Let's look at their political systems. France has a rich history starting with the Declaration of the Rights of Man in 1789, which laid the foundation for its modern system. Over time, France has made several constitutional changes reflecting its value of liberty, equality, and fraternity. These changes have expanded voting rights and citizenship, making the political system more democratic. Japan's constitution influenced by American Constitution, which created after the Meiji Restoration and later revised after World War II. Japan has a constitutional monarchy with emperors as a symbol of the state and the government holding the real power. The Japanese constitution has been amended several times as the Declaration has developed it.
What about the difference of the patriotism in the France and Japan?
During the French Revolution, patriotism was based on liberty, equality, fraternity, and resistance to tyranny. Republicanism, which promotes national unity and solidarity, is a key part of French patriotism. In Japan, patriotism has been influenced by respect for the emperor, especially after the Meiji Restoration. The lyrics lead to imperialism, sometimes lead to militarization and involvement in wars. Today, Japanese nationalism emphasizes independence, dignity, and strength.
So what about the similarity? Could you tell me about the similarity between them?
Oh yeah. Despite these differences, both countries share similarities in their political systems and patriotism. Both protect the rights and freedoms of their people, maintain social stability, and emphasize popular sovereignty in their constitutions. Both countries have revised their constitutions to keep up with changing times. Patriotism in both nations is also reflected in their education systems, which highlights national history and culture and encourage future aspirations. Both countries raise external challenges, requiring them to strengthen patriotic education to boost national unity. While France and Japan have different political systems and forms of patriotism, they also share many common values. Understanding their similarities and the differences helps them better understand the political and cultural landscapes of their two nations.
Can somebody tell me how do the country education patriotism shape the country nationalism and patriotism, and even influence nation building? How does the country philosophy shape the country education patriotism?
In my opinion, a country's education patriotism is highly related to its national philosophy. There is an interaction between them. We can use Japan and France as an example. As I have learned in my history class, at first, both countries added religious content to school's textbook because the governor wanted to solidify the power. Therefore, there were mythologies and religious stories in the textbook to enhance the patriotism and nationalism of the citizens. As a result, citizens in both countries were loyal to their country irrationally. Japanese went to extremes. The emperor required the citizens to be absolutely loyal to him and to the country. So, Japan continued using mythology and religion to control people's mind. This gave birth to the militarism, which was really horrible and pushed Japan to the extreme. In this area, under different education environment, the two countries went to different ways. As for France, the awakened philosophers managed to save the whole country, letting the citizens recapture their free will. Although people are less nationalistic and less patriotic than before, their love to the nation and to themselves became more rational. As for Japan, the citizens were brainwashed by the governor. The whole country became the belongings of the emperor. Although the nationalism and patriotism is solidified, people's mind became extreme.
But this situation is very different from the education paradigm today. How did it develop?
In modern and contemporary time, France kept cultivating students' ability to think independently since the influence of Enlightenment movement, and the education paradigm became even more inclusive because of the immigration boom. Because of the diversity in education paradigm, Frenchmen are cohesive. Their sense of nationalism and patriotism is still on a high level, and more importantly, the sense of belonging is rational. As for Japan, the World War and the awakening of some people made Japanese realize that the governor was using mythology to deceive them for long. Therefore, the related things were eliminated from the education paradigm. Japanese people became less extreme. They are released from the ridiculous dilemma before. In this era, the change of education paradigm reacts to the national philosophy. In Japan, this phenomenon is more obvious. People no longer believe in the words of the emperor and limit his power. Although they shifted the social structure, they are still nationalistic and patriotic. The only difference is the motivation of nationalism and patriotism is a sense of recognition to the country. This kind of love is not loyalty, it's from the heart, with their thoughts and with reason.
Thank you for your introduction. From the history of both country education paradigm changing, we can conclude that the national philosophy and the education paradigm is closely related. Somebody tell me How do the culture of the European and Asian country have the same starting point?
So first of all, we must admit that both France and Japan have gone through a complicated and long process in a range of culture, which also includes similarities and differences. The formation of the early state of France is about 1,100 years ago, and Japan is about 1,300 years. So there's no significant difference in the birth time of the two countries. Therefore, at the beginning of the culture, Japanese people were full of reverence and worship for natural scenery, such as the sun, moon, mountains, rivers, and so on. This kind of nature worship became an embryo of Japanese Shendao religion, believing that all things have spirit and praying for the protection of God through sacrificial activities, which is the source of Japanese culture's reverence of nature. The French similarly worshipped and believed in nature details such as the sun, God, and Thor. But the difference was that French was inhabited by Celtics, who already had their own distinct language, religion, art, and social system, and were generally more advanced than Japan. In a period of cultural development, both countries accept the spread of foreigner culture ideas, but because of the great difference in the accept ideas, the two countries gradually separated from the initial similar nature beliefs.
And how have their respective culture changed and developed under the living habit of different regions and races? How did this affect the nationalism and patriotism that developed in the process of building their country?
So Japanese nationalism today is categorized by economic, collective, and cultural identity. French nationalism, on the other hand, is categorized by cultural pride, nation-chosen diversity, and inclusiveness. While accepting foreigner cultures, Japan still retains its own unique culture, learn from each other, grow fast, and do not experience too many wars. French, by contrast, has experienced revolution and wars at the time of culture change, with both a great glorious history, such as the imperial glory of the Napoleon's era, and a strong sense of cultural pride and preservation. Therefore, in the face of nation crises and challenges, the French people's patriotism will be inspired by deep spirit of nationalism, by a rich cultural identity and pride, and by the spiritual concept of freedom and equality. Japanese patriotism is relativity implicated through history, culture, majority, and other aspects of instilling practical ideas to students. Pay attention to practical activities. At the same time, due to geographical environment and other factors, the people have a strong sense of crisis, which is transformed into a sense of responsibility and mission for the country. Promoting people to actively participate in nation construction and development, and deeply integrate Japanese dynamically and promoting people to actively participate in nation construction and development, and deeply integrate Japanese democracies and patriotism.
Alright class, now let's dive into national philosophy on how countries develop, maintain and face challenges in applying their core value. Let's focus on France and Japan.
Wait, national philosophy? What's that exactly?
Good question. National philosophy is like the guiding principle. It is a set of core ideas that help shape a country, development, policy, and identity. Each country philosophy reflects its history, culture, and belief.
Oh, so like liberty and equality for France?
Exactly. French national philosophy is deeply rooted in the value of liberty, equality, and fraternity. This idea grew out of the Enlightenment and the French Revolution.
But has France always been able to stick to those values?
Great question. Not always. For example, secularism is a major part of France's identity. It means keeping religion out of public institution, but this strict secularism sometimes causes friction with religion communities, especially as diversity in France grows.
So some people feel excluded, right?
Yeah, exactly. Minority group may feel left out, and the tension undermine those ideas. On top of that, economic inequality is a big problem, especially in suburban area. Marginalized community often face unemployment and fewer opportunity.
Wow, so even though France values equality, there are still gaps to fix.
Yes, Japan emphasizes collective harmony, cultural homogeneity, and respect of tradition. This idea has created a very unified and stable society.
But Japan has its own challenge, right?
Right again, Japan is dealing with aging population and declining birth rate. This poses a big threat to the country's economic and social stability.
So fewer younger people means fewer workers and more elderly to care for.
Yeah. Another challenge is Japan approved to cultural consistency. While Japan value homogeneity, this made it hard to integrate immigrant and minority groups like the Anu and Koreans.
That sounds kind of unfair. Don't immigrants help modernize and diversify societies?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why the pressure for the Japan to become more open and inclusive in today's globalized world.
So both countries has great ideas, but it's hard to apply them in real life.
Spot on. For French populist movement and political polarization often exploit ethnic and religion diversion, which weaken national unity. And in Japan, political resistance to reform slow down progress toward inclusivity.
So in summary, France struggles with balancing secularism and equality, while Japan's challenge is adapting to modern diversity and an aging society.
Perfect summary. Despite their different philosophy, France with liberty and equality, and Japan with harmony and tradition, both face political and social hurdles in today's world. Any final thought?
Yeah, national philosophies sound great on paper, but it's how you apply them that really matters.
Can somebody help me to explain and conclude the whole chapter? Yeah, you.
Today, we have explored how national philosophy have shaped the identity, nationalism, and patriotism of France and Japan. While both countries promote unity and progress, they face challenges in adapting these values to modern realities. So, in politics, French national philosophy stems from the French Revolution, emphasizing liberty, equality, secularism, replacing monarchy with republicanism. These principles remain central to French identity. In Japan, the constitutional monarchy positioned the emperor as a cultural symbol. And the next, education. Education initially reinforced nationalism in both nations. France through Catholic loyalty to the monarchy and Japan through Shinto loyalty to the emperor. Over time, France embraced Enlightenment ideas, promoting diversity and secular values. Similarly, Japan reformed post-war education to emphasize critical thinking and global awareness while retaining moral education. Today, both systems value rationality and inclusion. For the French culture, they shaped by Roman, Christian, and Renaissance influences, foster freedom, individuality, and multiculturalism. Japan blends unique traditions like Shintoism and Bushido with Chinese and Korean influence, emphasizing unity and harmony. While France thrives on diversity, Japan focuses on tradition and making global adaptation become challenging. While France struggling with balancing secularism and diversity, they creating exclusion among minorities. Social inequality also weakens unity. So in conclusion,
French and Japan's philosophies have shaped their identities and patriotism. However, challenges like diversity and inequality demand new approach to maintain unity and progress.
So today's class will be end here, and I will see you guys in the next class. Thank you.